Michael Cerami of Bleacher Nation wrote a really insightful article on the curious case of Shota Imanaga and his contract situation with all these different opt-outs, opt-ins, and different clauses in his contract. So we're going to review that article and kind of look over some of what Michael had to say about Shota Imanaga. And I'm going to talk about the possibility of what's going to happen with Shota Imanaga and his career as a Chicago Cub and what I think is going to be the case. Also, we also have breaking news about Alex Bregman officially opting out of his deal with the Boston Red Sox, looking for a more long-term deal. Should the Chicago Cubs finally bite? And last but not least, we also have to talk about the fact that it does look like the Chicago Cubs are going to do just enough to potentially either win between 92 and 87 games next season. We got to talk about it all, but first, got to hit you with that intro. Welcome in, Chicago Cub fans. It's your boy Mike Jones here with another episode of Chicago Cubs Central, your number one spot for all things Chicago Cubs. Hey, listen, if you guys like the content that we put out, if you enjoy watching the different videos that we have, listen, I'm telling you guys, you don't want to miss out on this coming off season. We're going to have a blast here on the channel. We're going to have special guests. We're going to have different content going out. It's going to be a great off season here on Chicago Cubs Central. So you want to stay tuned for all of that. And of course, you do not want to miss one single solitary second of the breaking news, because when it drops, we drop. Now, with that being said, the Chicago Cubs do have some moves that they have to make. They have some decisions that they have to make. And one of the bigger ones coming up here real quick is what to do with Shota Imanaga. Guys, if you recall, Shota Imanaga signed a 4-year, $53 million deal with the Chicago Cubs back in 2024. And he did it with unique options structured throughout that contract. So again, it gets kind of messy if you'll have that. But Michael Cerami of Bleacher Nation was around to sort all of it out. So I kind of read through the article. Also, I'm going to give you my insights and my thoughts on what to happen. So there's two ways to look at this. Like I said, the first way is if the Cubs want, they can exercise a $57 million club option that covers 2026, 2027, and 2028, and that keeps Shota Imanaga locked in for 3 more years with the following salaries each season. They'll pay him $20 million in 2026, 20 million in 2027, and then $17 million in 2028. But again, like I said, I don't know that the Chicago Cubs front office is super eager to make that deal for Shota Imanaga, just simply because he, has not looked that great this year. I mean, Shota Imanaga has dealt with injuries in both seasons. He definitely looked better, more formidable in his first season with the Chicago Cubs than in this season with the Chicago Cubs. So if the Cubs choose, they could decline that $57 million club option. But then Shota can exercise a $15 million player option for 2026. He'd still be a part of the roster. And if he does that, then his decision doesn't have to come until after 2026. But if the Cubs decline their option and then Shota declines his option, then the Cubs can make him a qualifying offer this season. If he accepts the qualifying offer, he'll be on the Cubs for 1 more year at whatever salary that they decide, and then after that, he's a free agent. So this may seem like the obvious route for Imanaga rather than picking up that $15 million player option, but also keep in mind that this one comes with an additional player option for 2027. And it's at least conceivable he might actually prefer 2 years, $30 million guaranteed, with the ability to opt out and leave. Let's say he has a stellar season in 2026. He reverts back to the Shota Imanaga that first came to the Chicago Cubs. And then after that, he can choose whether or not he wants to leave the Cubs or if he wants to try to restructure or get a new deal with them. So But if he declines that qualifying offer, he'll become a free agent right away, and the Cubs will recoup a draft pick should Shota sign somewhere else. So for 2026 only, Shota will do 4 different scenarios. One, play on a $20 million salary cap, club option picked up. Two, play on a $15 million salary cap, club option decline, but his player option gets picked up. 3, play on a qualifying offer, club option decline, player option decline, qualifying offer accepted. Or 4, become a free agent, his club option declined, player option declined, qualifying option declined. Now, I don't see a land where Shota Imanaga isn't a part of the Chicago Cubs next year. I mean, they have Shota plastered everywhere. I do believe that he will be a part of the Chicago Cubs next season. I just don't think he's a 1 or 2 starter. I mean, like I said, I think Shota has shown you, and I think the league has kind of figured out Shota Imanaga. I've done multiple episodes throughout the season after his starts telling you that basically it feels like, most clubs have kind of figured Shota stuff out. So, like I said, with that splitter, and I think Shota also, and when we do our recap episodes of players, individual players this season, and what they were able to accomplish, we will definitely talk about Shota Imanaga and his record as well as his stats for the season. But again, Shota has options in this too. So, Shota Imanaga and the Cubs after 2026. So basically, we immediately go to if this all plays out like after scenario 2. So Cubs decline their $57 million club option. Imanaga picks up his $15 million player option for 2026. Then there's another set of possible outcomes. First, the Cubs can offer after the 2026 season to exercise a club option that keeps Imanaga in Chicago for 2 years and $42 million plus a no trade clause. With the $15 million he'll have made in 2026, that's the same $57 million total, just different salaries each season. So it'll be 15 for 2026, 24 million for 2027, and then for 18 million for 2028. But if, however, the Cubs decline their $42 million club option for 2027 and 28, Imanaga has another $15 million player option he can exercise for 2027. In the scenario, he'd make $15 million in 2026 and $15 million in 2027 before becoming a free agent ahead of 2028 season. And that's where the original 4-year, $53 million deal comes from. So the minimum he was guaranteed if he wanted it. But if after playing in 2026 in Chicago on anything other than a qualifying offer, the Cubs decline their $42 million club option for 2027 and 28, and Imanaga declines his $15 million player option for 27, he'll immediately become a free agent after the 2026 season. So, again, you might think that the Cubs that could play the qualifying offer game again, but unfortunately, that's also not too simple. So remember, with the current collective bargaining agreement being set to expire after the 2026 season, and we'll have to do an episode where we talk about the fact that I think we're definitely headed towards a lockout after the 2026 season. Like, enjoy baseball in 2026, y'all, because it could be a long time before you see baseball again with the collective bargaining agreement and the way the MLB is fighting. Obviously, I know we've all heard the story about Bryce Harper and Manfred going into the Phillies locker room, and Bryce Harper, in no unceremonious words, basically tell them to get the F out if he's going to come in here talking about a salary cap. The players don't want a salary cap, but the league needs a salary cap, and a lot of us fans want them to have a salary cap, but also they want teams to set expectations for these players. So that's neither here nor there. That'll be another episode at another time. But again, we will just have to see what happens with that. So again, what happens with Shota Imanaga? In my eyesight, if I had to guess, I would guess that scenario number 2 is probably what's going to happen. I don't think that the Cubs are going to do scenario number 1 where they play on a $20 million salary cap and they pick up Shota Imanaga's option. I think that they're going to play on the $15 million salary cap, so the club option will be declined, and then Shota will pick up his player option, and then the two sides will come back and barter an agreement after this season. Honestly, I really don't see the Chicago Cubs long-term trying to sign anybody this offseason, with the fact of the lockout headed for after the 2026 season. I mean, we don't know what the new collective bargaining agreement is going to be. We don't know what teams are going to be doing. So when you look at it like that, you have to understand that the Chicago Cubs would be stupid to sign sign players to these long-term agreements and link themselves to them when you don't know what the new CBA is going to look like. So again, like I said, you could get players on a steal after that CBA happens and comes about. I mean, but again, we could be in for a very, very, very long lockout, completely missing the 2027 season if the Players Association and the league cannot come to an agreement. But yeah, man, the Chicago Cubs and Shota Imanaga, I say scenario 2 is probably the most likely. He will play on a $15 million salary, which it means that his club option will be declined, his player option will be picked up. It's great for Shota. Shota will be able to show what he has, go and make some improvements. Shota Imanaga has to make some improvements. They read his pitches, point blank, period. I mean, Shota Imanaga gave up. His home run totals this season are some of the worst in baseball. He gave up a lot of long balls this past season and in the postseason. That can't happen for a team that is unwilling to spend a lot of money on players or on pitching. So I mean, like I said, the Chicago Cubs are going to try to find value wherever they can. With that being said, players will have to make decisions on where they want to be and who they want to play for. And the Chicago Cubs, being the team that they are going to have to choose wisely as far as who they sign and who they curate to be in this pitching staff for the next season. We know Matthew Boyd will be there. I believe Colin Ray will be there. We have Justin Steele returning. We have, like I said, we have Jameson Tyone still. Like I said, we need to make some other decisions as far as our bullpen guys, who we're going to let walk and who also we're going to go after. But next up, we have to talk about another player that the Chicago Cubs could potentially go after. But first, we have this commercial break. I have been talking ad nauseum, and I still will continue to talk about the product, the brand that has changed my life and can change yours too. What's that product? It's Dubby. It's an all-natural energy supplement that you can take on the daily to help you get through those urges, those moments when you want to nap, then when you hit the cliff, or if you had a long night the night before and need to get through another crazy day of the hustle and bustle, the 9 to 5, whatever you got going on, Dubby is your energy drink. That's right. Not to mention, when you buy a container of Dubby, it actually equals out to almost $1 per drink. You can mix it in with whatever you want, whether that be a juice, whether that be a water, whether that be some type of other energy flavored drink, whatever you want, you can mix Dubby with it and it will do the trick for you. Guys, I don't understand what you're waiting on. Dubby takes care of everything for you. All you have to do is go on to the Dubby website and place your order. And at this time, when you do that, all you have to do is put in Cubs Central Pod 2024. That's right, Cubs Central Pod 2024. And you get 10% off on your Dubby order. That's right. Hey, listen, guys, I'm telling you right now, Jitterless Energy. They have all different types of different flavors for you. Dubby has what you need. Be better with Dubby. The Chicago Cubs have many options and many decisions to make for this coming season. One being the fact that during this past season, you saw the ups and downs of one Matt Shaw. On 670 The Score this morning, they had the conversation. On ESPN Chicago, the 1000, they had the conversation about one particular person, that being Matt Shaw, and do the Chicago Cubs win against the Brewers? Are they right now playing the Dodgers in the National League Championship Series? Had instead of them betting and being cheap and betting on Matt Shaw going out and getting Alex Bregman to start with, would they be playing right now against the Dodgers and the National League Championship Series? And for what it's worth, I have to believe they would be. I have to believe they would be. That's the question of this episode, question of the day for you guys. Would the Chicago Cubs be playing for the National League Championship Series right now against the Dodgers had they signed Alex Bregman instead of betting on Matt Shaw? Matt Shaw, who literally only mustered up 2 hits in the whole 2 playoff series the Chicago Cubs played in. Unacceptable. Unacceptable. I'll go as far back as to tell you guys, I believe the Chicago Cubs probably win the division if Alex Bregman is a part of this team. I do believe that changes the whole trajectory of how things go. The Chicago Cubs not only would then probably end up having the best record in all of baseball, the Chicago Cubs then would host the National League Division Series. The Brewers have to come play them in Chicago first. And then, like I said, Game 5 would also be hosted in Chicago. And then last but not least, you win the Central Division. And so for me, I look at this and I say to myself, you have a golden opportunity. Bregman, literally, it was just announced, has declined his player option for the 2026 season and is looking for a more lucrative deal. Now, I just told you guys in the last segment, I don't think the Chicago Cubs are going to sign players to more lucrative deals, but I should have put a little caveat in that. One player that I do think the Chicago Cubs ought to look at is third baseman Alex Bregman. And I know a lot of people have on the lives and in the comments have all said, well, we just need to give Matt Shaw a full year. PCA struggled for a year, and then we look what he did last year, 30-30 season. Listen, let me tell you something. I'm not even sure PCA can replicate that again in 2026. I do think PCA is going to have himself a good year. I don't know that it will be another 30-30 season for PCA. I know he's going to try to get better. I know he is a very, very young player. I understand all of these things. I just have a hard time believing that he will then be able to back that up and recreate that. I'm more bullish on Michael Busch being even better next season than he was this past season. I'm more bullish on that than I am anything with PCA. I mean, he's an outlier. He's a variable. But back to Matt Shaw. Matt Shaw's mind just didn't seem like it was in it. He didn't seem like he had what it took down the line. And even with Justin Turner basically being a glorified coach on the bench and helping him in PCA, I mean, you did see a little bit of improvement, but Matt Shaw struggled mightily at the big league level. And for me, I look at the Chicago Cubs club and I say to myself, we have to figure this third base conundrum out. We have to figure out who we're going to be and what we're going to be. What are we trying to do here? You have younger talent, such as your Nikos, such as, like I said, PCAs and guys like that. And then you have your older talent, like I said, you have your guys that are more established talent, like your Ian Happs, like your Kyle Tuckers, if he resigns, like Dansby Swanson is going to be here. Carson Kelly, we have him for another year also. So you look at this and you say to yourself, you have these guys, you understand what they can bring to the table, but you also have to choose a lane here. Are you guys going for it all now? Or are you guys going to, basically going to, wait for this younger talent to evolve? Are you going to wait on Moises Ballesteros? Are you going to wait on Kevin Alcantara? Are you going to wait on Matt Shaw to figure it out and hope that they do figure it out? I mean, they figured it all out at the AAA level. The AAA Cubs Iowa Cubs were a force to be reckoned with those guys on there. Very, very fun team to watch, especially with Owen Casey. But you also look at the Chicago Cubs and you have to figure out that you also have a timeline right now where it's for the taking. this division outside of the Brewers is not that great. And you will have a chance to be in the postseason. So you need to take you need to take advantage of that and make sure that you guys do what you need to do when it comes to being successful for the foreseeable future, but also for this season. I don't know. I think to myself, I say that the Chicago Cubs have to choose a lane. I don't think you can have it both ways. So I don't know. But again, like I said, the Chicago Cubs have a lot that they have to figure out, and they need to do it here really soon, because like I said, they have many options to do, and a bunch of decisions to make. So Carter Hawkins, like I said, it has been in the news a lot with his comments about the Chicago Cubs. Obviously, his most famous comment was, our decisions aren't just for the 2025 Chicago Cubs, but also for the 2032 Chicago Cubs. He also has said many things that have left fans baffled and disheartened, and basically just frustrated with the Chicago Cubs front office. And again, a lot of it comes from the fact that him and Jed Hoyer's hands are tied because Ricketts is unwilling to spend the money it takes to really compete. I mean, for as the highs and the lows that the Dodgers had all season, they're still in the National League Championship Series. They were able to take out the Phillies. They were able to take out, they're in the midst of taking out the Brewers. Like I said, they have done what they needed to do in order to be successful. So, I mean, like I said, you could talk about their payroll. You could talk about how high it is. You could talk about all the deferred cash. You could talk about the fact that they're probably going to end up adding Kyle Tucker at the end of this season in deferred cash before that new collective bargaining agreement comes into play, which is going to probably tax them heavy if they do decide to keep some of those players like Blake Snell, like Kyle Tucker, like Shohei Ohtani, like I said, like Yamamoto, and like the other piece that they got too. But again, it's one of those things where the Chicago Cubs are just unwilling to spend the cash. And Carter, I guess, and maybe he thinks that he is smart in some of the stuff he says, but in my eyes, it just shows how cheap the organization is and how unwilling they are to spend. But we'll see. Maybe they prove me wrong. But like I said, it's going to be a tough go for the Chicago Cubs this offseason. I'm interested to see what they do. Again, different people have different reports that the Chicago Cubs are going to have a big 2025 offseason leading into 2026 season. I am not of that thinking. I mean, I expect them to get some gems, just like they found Matthew Boyd and got him on a steal of a deal, and he ended up becoming our ace. But I don't know if they're going to go after Alex Bregman. I don't even know if they're going to try to sign Kyle Tucker back to another deal. We will just have to see what happens. But that's my episode for today. Leave your comments below. Let me know what your thoughts are on the Chicago Cubs and what they are doing and preparing to do this offseason. Who do you think that they should go after in the offseason? We're going to be doing episodes hyping up who the Chicago Cubs could potentially be going after this offseason. It's going to be a fun offseason. Can't wait to talk to you guys more and more about it. But until next time, go Cubs.
Thank you for watching another episode of Chicago Cubs Central, the #1 spot for all Chicago Cubs content. Remember to like, share, subscribe for more Cubs content. Thank you for watching another